The spot a little low. The kick is airborne. It is airborne. It's airborne. It is gone! Bucs win! Bucs win! Bucs beat the Carolina Panthers in overtime.
What is going on, Bucs fans and CFP fans? Evan and Wanish here, back at you with another video talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And today we are going to be going over the best and the worst of the Buccaneers' thrilling roller coaster ride of a win over the Carolina Panthers in Week 13 in overtime by a score of 26-23. So with that being said, let's get right into it. And I'm curious for this week, because I think there's going to be a lot of good and bad. So I am curious to see what we can come up with. But I'm not alone. Joining me in today's video is my CFP co-host, Mr. Rhett Matthew. Rhett, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. Everybody loves a victory Monday, and roller coaster is right. An emotional roller coaster for a lot of the Red and Pewter faithful. A lot of highs and lows in that game on Sunday, but the Buccaneers pick up their first overtime win of the season, which a lot of people were very happy to see. So a good bounce-back performance in that fourth quarter for the Buccaneers. Showed a lot of resilience, but yeah, a roller coaster is a good way to put it.
Yeah, let's start with the highs, though, okay? Let's start with the highs of the roller coaster here, and we're going to start with rookie running back Bucky Irving. I mean, look, if you want to say player of the game, he might have been player of the game, right? There may be a couple other guys that have a say in that, maybe, but 25 carries, 152 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, through the air, 3 catches for 33 yards. So Bucky Irving, really, obviously, the best game of his young NFL career thus far, and was all over the place for the Bucs, and exactly what they needed when they needed it. He continues to be just a massive piece for this Buccaneers offense.
Bucky Irving has been unleashed. This is the performance that we really have been waiting on. 25 carries, as you said. And look at what the kid gave you. The most running back yards that any Tampa Bay back has had since Ronald Jones back in 2020 in that game that he had that big 98-yard run against the Carolina Panthers. But you said it on the post-game show, and I'm going to agree with you here. If Offensive Rookie of the Year was not a quarterback award, then Bucky Irving should absolutely be at the top of the list when it comes to consideration. He has been one of the most electric players on the field for the Buccaneers this season, and he's doing it as a rookie. I mean, we are just getting into what this kid can really do here when you talk about untapped potential in Bucky Irving. I'm excited to see what he can do throughout the rest of his career.
Definitely. It's a lot of exciting plays, and just, when he gets going, it's tough to stop him. So pretty good day by Bucky Irving. Going to bring up another guy on offense. This guy's, I think, a little bit older than Bucky Irving, but Mike Evans. We're going to talk about him because he had, his best day since returning, and obviously it's only been 2 games, but it was nice to see Mike Evans get over the 100-yard mark with 8 catches, 118 yards, and he scored a touchdown, which was a pretty sweet touchdown grab for the Bucs to open up the scoring for them. Mike Evans was exactly what the Bucs needed on Sunday. So, and even late in the game, because when they're driving down to try and tie the game, he had a couple of catches. In overtime, he had a couple of catches. So it was really nice to see big number 13 get involved early and often and make some clutch plays down the stretch.
Yeah, and Mike, with a history of having success against the Panthers, has another big-time day, leads the team in receiving. And as you said, that touchdown grab, just one of many examples of Mike Evans making these acrobatic, ridiculous catches throughout his NFL career. The man is aging like a fine wine, and he was one of the biggest pieces of that Buccaneers offense in an inconsistent day throwing the ball, no less. We kind of talked about Baker's performance, but Mike Evans was ready and available. He was able to overcome that drop on the first drive of the game, too. He was a huge target.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, with the passing game sort of struggling, you needed a guy like Mike Evans to step up. In that sort of area, right, in the passing game. So with that being said, let's move on to the defensive side of the football. And the defense, much like this game, was up and down, right? There was a couple of times where the defense looked okay, and a couple of times where the defense sort of let them down. So with that being said, let's get right into it. And I'm gonna say, shout out to Anthony Nelson. Now, Nelson had 6 tackles in this game, but the biggest play he made didn't involve really much of a tackle at all. It was stripping Chuba Hubbard late in overtime as the Panthers were going down, and the Bucs had already received the football. So all the Panthers had to do at that point was hold on to the ball and kick the field goal. They were in field goal range, trying to get a little bit closer. Chuba Hubbard fumbles the football, forced by Anthony Nelson, recovered by Yaya Diaby. So Nelson had a good day, but it's capped off and really notable with that play there in particular. So a massive clutch play by Nelson.
Yeah, he's going to be the hero of the game when you consider how close that game was to being over. They're in the overtime period. Carolina's in a position where Tampa Bay's already had the ball. Like, they really didn't even have to chew any more clock. If they felt confident in their kicker to go from that distance, he probably could have made it. But a nightmare scenario happens when you put the ball in the hands of Chuba Hubbard, and Anthony Nelson makes probably the biggest play of his career. But yeah, we've talked about the implications of what a loss would have been for Tampa Bay. So Anthony Nelson saving a little bit more than just the game there with that forced fumble, but a big time play for Nelly.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're going to also stick on the defensive line, sort of, and we're going to talk about Kalijah Cansey. Cansey didn't really wow anybody on the stat sheet, but he did have a sack on Sunday, and it was a pretty big one. I Bleav, it was the Buccaneers' only sack of the day on Bryce Young, so made a pretty clutch play there. And Cansey is now tied with Vita Vea for the team lead in sacks with 6. So, and that's playing, I believe, 7 games. So we got to remember, Cansey missed a good portion of the beginning of the season with injury. So there's a lot of high hopes, I think, for the future of Kalijah Cansey if he can stay healthy, because right now he's showing that he is a pretty good talent out there.
Yeah, he's got 5 sacks in his last 4 games, too. So this is a guy that already missed some time this season due to injury, missed a little bit of time in his rookie year due to injury, but when he's on the field, he is just continuing to deliver for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive line. The lone sack on the stat sheet today for big number 94, but I like your prediction. It is aging better and better every single week that he is going to lead the team in sacks. You don't love that it's an interior guy, but the fact that you got Kalijah Cansey in year number 2 performing like this is a great sign, especially for Jason Light.
Yeah, for sure. And then also, we would be remiss if we did not say Chase McLaughlin. Of course, obviously, is 4 for 5, does miss the field goal in overtime. The snap was a little bobbled, whatever. But makes the 51-yard to tie the game with zeros on the clock in regulation, and then wins the game for the Buccaneers in overtime. So Chase McLaughlin, again, what more can be said about him? He's been awesome for the Bucs and continues to be. Well, I think, there is one word that you can describe him, but
Money Mac. Listen, every time Chase McLaughlin successfully kicks a field goal, the Shane McMahon theme music plays in my head every single time. You cannot doubt the man. He is ice cold. And you talked about his legacy in the grand scheme of things as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers kicker. I know he hasn't been here as long as some of the other storied kickers in Bucs history, but his track record speaks for itself, and his ability to step up in crunch time in big games. And as we said, keeping the season alive to send this game into overtime, that's huge. And he is full of big time plays just like this ever since the Bucs signed him.
Absolutely. It's been a massive signing. So continues to pay off for the Bucs. Now, we talked about that roller coaster. There is some bad here, of course. And like we always say, with every win, there's bad. With every loss, there's good. So this one had the best of both worlds there. We're going to say Baker Mayfield. Look, I know that he hurt his ankle and he came back and he made some clutch plays down the stretch, right? When they're trying to tie the game, he made some good throws. In overtime, made some good throws. However, there was a couple of times where he would run into sacks. He would create his own pressure. He'd miss some guys. Had 2 interceptions that were completely avoidable, especially the first one. It's a 6-point swing for the Buccaneers. The Bucs are trying to kick a field goal before the half. Instead, he gives the ball to the Panthers, and the Panthers kick a field goal right before the half. So Baker Mayfield did not have a great day, even before the injury. But then, obviously, gets banged up a little bit there. Did return to the game. We'll have to wait and see on the injury report how he's feeling, but I thought that Mayfield's day was, a little bit below average, and you're gonna need him to be better.
Yeah, and it's not the first time we've seen some of this stuff this year, even last year from Baker Mayfield. His ability to maybe try and do a little too much at times. He plays into the pressure, as you said, gives himself up to the sack every now and again, some costly INTs, but given the way that Baker has played so far this season, still is in the grand scheme of the 2024 season playing some of the best football of his career, with what these games mean to the Bucs down the stretch, I have no doubt in my mind he's going to turn things around. And I think it's going to start next week. It was a rough day at the office for him. He can bounce back and get back to that winning brand of football that we know and love. I think next week against the Raiders is when we'll see him come back.
Yeah, hopefully. But then we're going to also talk about his offensive line, okay? And we're going to single out somebody here. And I don't know if this person has really made onto the list as a good or a bad, individually wise. So with that being said, though, we're going to add Graham Barton to the disappointing list. Look, Barton there was a couple of snaps where it was kind of off. It felt kind of off. And then there was a couple of pre-snap penalties, which was an issue with a lot of the Bucs players on Sunday. But Barton did not have that good of a day on Sunday. I think he's going to want to put this one behind him. What do you see out of the rookie center?
Yeah, he looked like a rookie center. It was kind of a performance that I don't want to say we've been waiting for, because you never wait around for a performance like that. But some of those miscues just looked like an inexperienced player. And, he's had a pretty positive rookie season so far. This was a rough patch for him. And you can't understate how costly those mistakes are. The pre-snap penalty, it wrecks that drive, kicks them back out of scoring range, and they don't find the end zone. It just makes it a lot tougher to beat yourself when you continue to make those mistakes. So I think it's something he's going to work on. Again, those snaps early in the game, you got to be better. You put your quarterback in a tough position, and you got to make chicken salad out of, not chicken salad there. And it just puts your offense in a tough position. But I think he'll bounce back. He's a bright young player.
Definitely. I don't have any concerns long term, Speaking of somebody that I don't have too many concerns long term with, we're going to talk about Antoine Winfield Jr. as being a disappointing player. There was a couple times during the game where you'd like to see him come up with a play, right? And he just didn't quite do it. So I know there's been a lot of frustration there for Antoine Winfield Jr. here. This whole season really has been a little bit frustrating, I think. Gets hurt in week 1, misses a little bit of time, comes back, and then isn't quite the same. So I know there is some frustration there for sure.
Yeah, you had talked about this on the post game, and I think it rings true. He's just a great player having an off year, and I think the outside elements are going to play a factor. Some people say that it's all on Winfield, and I'm going to tend to disagree. When you look at his supporting cast, when you look at his defense, when you look at the guys who are healthy and available, the Bucs signed Mike Edwards to try and relieve the safety room, and he left this game with injury. So now you're relying on some younger players once again to step up. They are changing starting lineups week in and week out, especially in that secondary throughout this year. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but it without a doubt was a rough afternoon for Antoine Winfield Jr. And there's a couple of plays this year that he would like back, not quite playing at the standard that he has set for himself early in his career.
Yeah, and really quick, just to close things out, Trenton Gill also had a pretty rough day a couple of times. A couple of punts that were a little short on the kickoff. Tried to get in the landing zone, missed the landing zone by a couple of yards, put the Bucs in a tough spot there. Carolina ended up scoring the go-ahead touchdown. But let us know what your best and worst were. I'm sure we can have some different lists here. I think this game provides an opportunity, a rare opportunity, I think, to have some different perspectives on what people saw. So let us know in the comment section below who your best and your worst were for this week. But thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And go Bucs.